kidding. I am gonna have bags of my own tokens soon.
Yeah, so I think before we get into what you're working on now, it'd be quite. I mean, obviously you don't name names, but like, how did you kind of get into the current position of COO, and how was that kind of journey, I suppose?
Yeah, so a little bit of my background. Basically, I had worked with early stage startups since I was trying to get into like the startup scene in college actually, and then which if anybody here is in school, just go hang out at like your entrepreneurship center. And you'll meet a bunch of really cringe tryhards. Maybe I was just one of them, but it's also legitimately good people to be around. Anyway, so I started working for early stage startups, mostly tech. I'm non-technical. I don't write code. But I do socials. I mean, this social account this is my shit posting account, and it's done all right. It's not my job. But I can run a mean Twitter account. I can write a lot of copy. I'm good with partnerships. So anyway, bounced around through early stage startups, worked for a VC firm, then went and got an MBA in entrepreneurship, so a very small business-focused MBA. And then I started running nodes I started running Ren dark nodes in 2019, something like that. That's Republic Protocol, and an interesting, essentially Bitcoin wrapping bridge. And I could run nodes and get some income from that, which never became more than $1,000 a month. But for me, it was my first jump into like actually running nodes and understanding how all that works. I was passionate about crypto. I bought Silk Road. Everybody has this fucking story, but I was buying Silk Road drugs in 2012. I was buying fake IDs for my friends. I was that guy. By the way, I fucking hate this story when people say that. Like, I was buying Bitcoin and it was $5, and if I had it today, and it's like, yeah, dude. Just like, I cut people off when they start giving their I once had Bitcoin in 2014 story, because everyone has them. But anyway, I was doing kind of like, I used Bitcoin in high school in 2012. That dates me. I ended up just really personally interested in crypto, and I was living in Austin, Texas, and increasingly meeting people that were working in Web3. And at one point, one of my friends was like, "Ted, you should probably work in crypto. Like, this makes sense for you. You also have opinions, and there's parts of you that crypto would probably be okay with that are not okay in other workplaces," which is very true. It's a base space for the most part. And those guys looked through my resume and ignored all of it and saw that I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And they were like, "You do Jiu-Jitsu? Like, we do Jiu-Jitsu." And then it turned out that they were super based, they do Jiu-Jitsu, and they're crypto guys. And I was like, holy shit, I found my people. Like, that's fucking, I found jacked based crypto Jiu-Jitsu bros. Like, that's me. So I ran that company from, I was originally marketing manager, then I got promoted. Basically, those guys that hired me, they hired me to run the business. And I got promoted to COO and co-founder, which is, in the crypto world, if you don't know this, the co-founder status really refers to, do you get a team slice of tokens? It's less about, like, were you there when it was founded? So I was there a little after it was founded, but I get a co-founder slice. Short story long, I was COO. I almost said the name. I was COO there for a while, and I technically still am. They're a little short on funds, so a lot of us have taken on other gigs, and then just kind of through fate or God, the proper opportunity that combines all of my network from the past 2 years of work, combined with an unprecedented leap in tech, cross-chain tech that nobody is yet building on. I am friends with the team, and I have the go-ahead to build on it. So now I'm uniquely positioned to build a pretty novel multi-chain protocol that will then form a central fixture of this upcoming ecosystem of insert name ecosystem that is a multi-chain ecosystem. That's I think that covers most of how I got to here. Right now, I hired one of my friends who is a UPenn computer science guy. He is building the product full time. I'm paying him out of pocket. Our team is 4. I've written all the deck copy. Design should be done today or tomorrow. Basically we're going full send, and this is ours. We're literally looking to raise as little money as possible. I don't want to talk to VCs. I don't want to do any of that bullshit. We're actually going to have a profitable revenue model, and so we all want to own pieces of the business. We don't actually care about a token. We'd maybe do a token in 2024, but fundamentally the product is profitable enough that we don't need to do that immediately. I could probably keep going, but I'm going to cut myself off there. Does that give you a little bit of my background and where we're at?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
And it kind of reflects a lot of people's journey of how they kind of stumble into it, one step at a time. Would it be fair to say that you've got an overrepresentation of like multi-chain kind of experience compared to other types of experience?
Yeah, I would say yes. And I mean, in that meta narrative, and specifically with the technology and the teams I've worked with, the tagline you've heard me repeat it is that the future is multi-chain. Personally, I'm I basically leverage trade with my personal leverage trade Bitcoin and ETH. I'm huge Bitcoin and ETH. I'm not terribly interested in all of the kind of L2 wars. I really believe, and this is something that Crypto Cobain, really has a great podcast on, but basically that crypto moves in meta narratives. And the narratives often take on ecosystems as their kind of headers. There was the Phantom explosion. There was the Terra era, which ended in flames. But there's kind of these meta narratives specifically regarding ecosystems. And again, as I said before, being multi-chain as a protocol, I think that we can adjust our marketing and what we're talking about on Twitter as a multi-chain protocol that serves all these communities as the narrative changes. And so, the worst thing ever, and this happened with my previous project to some degree with Phantom, is tying yourself to the mast of one of these ecosystems. It's just you take on a large amount of risk, and at one point it really did look like a good idea to build on Terra, to build on Phantom. Right now, this is an interesting discussion. I'd love to toss this back to you, but what are you building on and why with Sukuri?
Yeah, I'm glad you're bringing that up. So what we're building is subscription infrastructure. Building on top of 4337. I think most of the crowd is familiar with Ethereum and its various EIPs, I guess. But if you're familiar with account abstraction, you will understand the ability to, delegate payments and have gasless fees. So that's what we're, building in essence. I'm building a very specific feature that's, missed in the entire, ecosystem, I suppose. And where we're building it and our approach, and we have been asked this quite a few times, obviously we're going to build on a testnet, we're going to build in Solidity, and then we're going to go into Ethereum first and foremost. And then that is mainly due to Ethereum having the most sort of NFT liquidity compared to other chains. And then we're probably most likely going to go into Polygon, mainly because of the amount of help they've given us. Polygon have been huge in helping us. I don't want to reveal too much in terms of the extent of their help, but they have a huge gaming ecosystem, and the vertical we're attacking is being shaped into gaming and Web3 and GameFi.
Polygon might have a boomer approach to Web3 or whatnot, but their business development doesn't lie. Like, it shows.
Honestly, yeah, like, it's crazy. Like, they reached out to us before we were even like that public, and they've like onboarded us into their ecosystem, and like they're asking us when announcement, and we're like, we haven't done it. We need to write some code first, So yeah, they're super helpful, and actually Peter, who's in the audience, he's a good Milady friend of ours, and he's actually building a Web3 game as well. If you want to come on stage, Peter, I'm more than happy to invite you on. But yeah, that's obviously Ethereum is first and foremost, and we're also in talks with Arbitrum. But again, it kind of depends on our go-to-market strategy. I've over time have become very agnostic. My previous startup, my co-founder wanted to go on like Solana, and I was like very heavily, Solidity oriented, mainly due to the ecosystem and the kind of depth of that. So I really like the Ethereum ecosystem, and I want to kind of stay in that periphery.
Yeah, one thing I just want to toss in there as well. If anybody would like to know the name of my project or what I'm building or working for, shoot me a DM. I just currently, for OPSEC reasons, let me put it this way. I would have to ask the team if they would want the project associated with this account. Believe it or not, I know I know we have a mix of followers in here. I see some familiar faces, but I have like 3 accounts, and I have an entire crypto identity that is my professional life. And then I think of it as masks that you wear on the internet. Anyway, this is one of my masks, and I don't have the full confidence that I want to or that I will be associating this profile with this multi-chain protocol that I'm building. But that could also happen, and if they're cool with it, then you'll be hearing about it a lot from me. But if you drop me a DM, I can let you know which project we're talking about. But at a high level, I know that we have some of my followers in here as well as you, Grit, and I'm happy to kind of outline what I am building. I'd love to hear about what you're building. Can you just give a high level on Sukuri?
Yeah, so essentially what we're doing is maximizing potential game revenue for Web3 games via subscriptions. So to simplify it even more, it would be essentially creating the infrastructure that will allow battle passes and game passes to be built, to be used in-game, minted and traded on the blockchain, all in seamless fashion, as well as, all of the other composability that NFTs allow. So yeah, that's more or less it in a kind of nutshell. And obviously, Thad, you've been part of the journey of kind of seeing and shaping, like how we've kind of pivoted our kind of idea and concept and narrative. So for anyone in the audience, that's essentially what we're building. Subscription infrastructure with a focus on gaming.
Right on. And just high level, I just thought it would be good we define our terms. So high level, what I am building is essentially I think it's actually overly simplistic to call it a multi-chain DEX. It will have a multi-chain DEX function, but essentially a platform that allows you to partake in any activity you could imagine in a centralized exchange, but in a totally decentralized manner. And so you would come with a multi-chain wallet, plug into our technology, and you can do all of your trading. We look to then expand that into leverage trading, derivatives, long-term options, but that's kind of a moonshot. And then outside of that, this entity will be also a fair launch platform. So I don't like the term IDO. I think that will die with the last cycle. I don't really like the term launchpad, but a fair launch platform or something. I like fair launcher, but we'll be conducting incubation venture. It will basically be investing, and we are aiming to be a central fixture of our chosen ecosystem. So previously, most ecosystems, you have detached components, which are your wallets, your swaps, your kind of yield protocols, in addition to your launch pads, in addition to your venture DAOs, right? This will be all of those in one. And we plan to kind of have branches of the business, and we have a really cool and fun branding behind it as well that gives us a lot of lore and mythos to build. And where I'm at personally, I'm funding this out of pocket. The way I see this is I want to spend the next 5 to 10 years building this. We want to give as little of it away as possible, and really have it as a wealth generation tool. In addition, I'm a true believer on the decentralization side. Sovereign finance, and yeah, we're looking to, and then as part of my broader project, I want my followers, I want my friends, I want my normie Instagram followers on my FaceFag account. Like, I want people to get their money out of the financial system. And I want to help people do that. And our goal is to create a platform where you can go conduct digital finance and be free and hide from the government. So that's what we are building. And, we'll have basic interface ready probably within the next few weeks. Deck will be ready tomorrow. I've written all the deck copy, and it's good, if I do say so myself. So, yeah, that's what we are building, and we are quite excited.
Cool. I mean, yeah, that's pretty interesting. I won't push in terms of how much information we're going to give. I know the nature of these kind of early stage kind of things. In terms of like go to market and how you kind of, you mentioned something about fair launches and having an incubator, but how would you approach, this protocol and how you'd kind of bring it out?
So specifically, I think that we have discovered the next stage in tokenomics. And without giving too much detail on my background, I have launched a bunch of tokens in various capacities, or helped people do it, or funded them. And I really think that along with another project, we have discovered an ideal tokenomics model that will actually be a really healthy ecosystem. So imagine this. Essentially, we're going back to Web 2. We are creating tokens that are essentially, they act as equity in the company, and they're revenue share tokens. And by prioritizing revenue share token models for this ecosystem, or at least what my firm is going to be helping launch, what does that mean? That means that every protocol we work with has to be profitable. It has to be a profitable business model. My high-level conclusion about the 2020 and 2021 cycle and yield farming is that everyone inflated their tokens and didn't have underlying profitable business models for holding their token, or even just as protocols, many of them. So there was an over-tokenization of bad revenue models. And if you're building an ecosystem and 60% of your projects don't generate enough money on a unit-by-unit basis, essentially what you have is trash floating around your ecosystem. And so what we are looking to do is specifically, if we have a token, it'll be in 2024, but specifically we are looking to refine and study the art of revenue share-based tokens with low supplies, and that are basically act as like Web 2 equity in the company. And what comes with equity is the share of the profits. And so there are projects that have done this, but no one has treated it like a discovery. I personally want to build an ecosystem of revenue share tokens. And by nature of that, we are going to be analyzing any token that we launch or any token that we work with. What is your revenue model? And in a Web 2 way, if we took out the token, what is your revenue model, and are you profitable? And so if you could imagine such an ecosystem of profitable revenue model tokens, I envision that, and I think we will attract a lot of really high talent, good teams, and really interesting technology.
Reminds me of how the last revenue model of Web 2 was essentially influence, right? Whether you had the streaming or the follower accounts, and people found out those are all just fake. Same with the tokenomics being all fake, because the people who created those tokenomics were all coming from that background, that streaming bullshit or the follower bullshit. So excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah, and we will be in terms of biz dev, to the original question. I said that this kind of combines all my work in the past couple of years. I have a very good network of VCs, projects, teams, various ecosystems. We have a number of good people on board, but, kind of like in traditional business, it's like here's a comparable. It's like I've worked for Coca-Cola for a long time, and now I'm spinning off and I'm going to start my own beverage. If I worked for Coca-Cola, I know distributors, I know the landscape, I have good contacts in the various areas that I'm going to need in order to launch my beverage. And so now it becomes a question of who do we want to work with and why. At the end of the day, I'm going to fund this out of pocket, and we're going to bootstrap as much as we can. I don't want a bunch of investors to report to. I don't want to be beholden to anyone. And ultimately, the goal is to build for our community a profitable model where then people can have equity through a revenue share token, and we all change the world with that capital generating machine.
Yeah, I think that's a really good kind of strong narrative to have coming into the space. I think we are at that era of, you know, we act for actual utility, even though that is a meme term at this point. But I think, you know, having actual revenue generating kind of profitable protocols, I think we are approaching that era, and there have been, you know, revenue share models, I suppose. Maybe Olympus is one, if you can call it that, and an offshoot Olympus was Concave that I worked with, and they had a pretty interesting kind of model of, like, you know, having a treasury that gets, you know, resent out, I suppose, through a rebasing token. So yeah, I mean, I think, you know, they obviously had their own issues and, you know, teething problems. So I think it's a very good experiment to have. And even with, you know, Sukuri, our main focus is providing revenue, or allowing, you know, other DAOs and companies to have a new stream of revenue other than just having tokens, where the token is just essentially, you know, going to get fucked to bits with, you know, in-game economies and, you know, just market conditions.
Definitely. And then just another thought on the biz dev side, and I'd be curious, you know, Gritco, as many of you know, runs a number of accounts. And so I run this one. And I do have a great network of mutuals and interesting based people that are following this Twitter. And depending on how my team shapes up and how things are looking, like plugging into that, and I'm not, you know, it might involve giving, you know, referral codes to friends who want to be involved, but like I want to leverage the network that I'm in. I genuinely think that we're building something that is going to generate a lot of wealth for a lot of people, and selfishly, I want my friends and I want my communities and people who have aligned values to benefit from that. So that's kind of my personal angle on it, and it'll be interesting to see how much this account and my kind of personal network factors in there. But you know, like I want my community on board with this, and you know, there is going to be a very crazy future. You know, I like the Balaji framing that Bitcoin and then the cryptocurrency, the parallel economy, is a lifeboat, and there hypothetically there is enough lifeboats for everybody, but not everybody's going to get on the lifeboats because they don't know that the ship's sinking. My goal is I want to spread awareness, get as many people who are my guys, on those lifeboats, and we are going to survive whatever the future of a collapse or hyperinflation or whatever's coming. Go pull up a Coinbase 90-day chart on Bitcoin or a 90-day chart on ETH. I want people on those rides, because the alternative ride that they're on, they never signed up to be on, is the US dollar ride. And whether that's equities markets of the US economy or simply the dollar, that is a sinking ship. And so I want people to realize they're on a sinking ship. There are alternatives. And the future operating in the decentralized world is coming. I used to give the example when I lived in Austin. I would say to someone like who isn't a crypto believer, I'd be like, how long do you think it would take me to find somebody in Austin who would give me like the title to their house for ETH? And the answer is, I bet I could do it within a week. I bet I could find someone who likes crypto in Austin and buy their house from them. And now you scale that single peer-to-peer transaction across the entire economy, or even the creator economy, which is really what you're building. But you end up with this peer-to-peer model that is outside the purview of the Leviathan, and they can't inflate it. They can't change the rules. Yeah, I want to get people on the lifeboat, and you know, everybody does that. Everyone has here's their intro to crypto, and I like to write little threads on it, like, hey, you could do this today. You could get your money out of the system. It is going to become harder, so the lifeboats will become less available. If they keep throttling on-ramps, off-ramps, banks, it will become more difficult to get your money out of the system. But it's available right now. You can do it. You know, I'm not quite at the point where I'm going to buy a house with Bitcoin because I want to hold on to it. But yeah, these things are coming. It's really, once you take the pill, and I think a lot of my followers, because it's a based following, it's not as crypto interested, don't know this yet. But like, this is an inevitable future, and I like the saying, you can play to lose or play to win, but you must play. You were on one of the ships.
One thing so I was in a space earlier, so interoperability isn't just going to be limited between protocols, it's going to be extended to types of labor, that you're going to be able to trade commodities to your physical time for tokens or like equities. Like it's not going to be just like multi-chain doesn't mean like within the digital space. It's going to extend to the physical space, and that's going to be exciting where you can because that's the biggest issue with payment gateways right now, because they all have to essentially trade on the courtesy of the dollar and whatever that the dollar decides your labor's worth.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things I kind of want to say to that. So first thing would be in terms of culture fit. One thing I've noticed when just like trying to expand my team with Sukuri, trying to get people on board, I'd say probably every single person on the team has a Milady or is Milady adjacent, and we kind of like grew. We got in touch organically through Twitter, and they were kind of familiar with me. So like there was no real cultural onboarding. So I think if you can find someone in your following, definitely do so. And we've been talking to a lot of investors and people that are like engaged with my content, or they've been DMing me for a year or so or more. Like they get the idea, they get the concept like within 20 seconds. And then obviously as we kind of branch out to the less lower hanging fruit, there is that kind of cultural thing that becomes way more apparent. And like saying to someone, "Well, we're a Milady in crypto and building something regarding infrastructure." Like the distance between like you might speak the same language, but the cultural language is very different. So I would definitely give the advice to try to find the lowest hanging fruit in terms of finding people, but also make sure they are qualified. Do due diligence and all this other kind of things as well. So yeah, that's a huge point. And then the other point was essentially regarding the never having to off ramp. We want to create a future where you're earning money in crypto, you're spending money, you're spending crypto. Crypto and money are synonymous in our kind of future. So I think anyone that's kind of building that is aligned with what we kind of see the future is. And that doesn't really have to speak to de-dollarization or how the pound or the yuan kind of stands. I think that just speaks to technology become more towards the forefront.
I've got a quick question there. I'm just wondering that what you think about the. Do you feel like there's pressure to get out ahead of like institutions trying to develop a similar sort of protocol or that sort of thing? I just know with the Ethereum sort of deploying staking, it's sort of working now. That's very well connected with JP Morgan and sort of a lot of established banking interests and stuff like that. Do you feel like there's much competition there, or is this like you have blue water?
I personally think that the competition is going to come more within the multi-chain Web3 space, and it already exists, and I'm fine with that because the pie is growing. The pie is growing all the time. Coinbase has 200 million accounts. A lot of these decentralized protocols have under 100,000 wallets that have ever used them. The pie is going to grow inordinately, and it will likely, some of it will be gradual, but in the broader debate between gradualism and punctuated equilibrium, I'm on the punctuated equilibrium side, which essentially means slow growth and then huge leaps. And there will be huge leaps that happen in terms of adoption. And, I actually listened to a great podcast today with, what was his name? He's a Chainlink guy, Sergey Nazarov on the Breakdown podcast it's no longer from Coinbase, but great episode today. Basically, a point that stuck with me from him is if you were to offer somebody two identical products and explain to them that one is centralized and one is decentralized, and they function the same speed, same kind of capability, a person who is informed enough would choose the decentralized option as preferable if they're exactly the same. Like, there's no reason to use the centralized JP Morgan version of something. If you can offer a Coinbase that's totally decentralized, to somebody with enough, and you do have to educate like the community or the masses on this, but a similar thing is with the example he gave that I thought was great was encryption. If you could offer someone a messaging platform that is encrypted versus non-encrypted, and they work exactly the same, so your Signal, people are like, oh, well, I like privacy. I would like the encrypted one. And like end-to-end encryption messaging is just going to become the norm because it's like, oh, well, obviously I would prefer the better option if the functions are all the same. So in the context of these, Leviathan companies trying to build alternatives, like, do you want to use like the Web3 native one, or do you want to that's truly decentralized and uncensorable and really not under the rules of the state or corporations or bureaucracies? I think it's such an obvious win for the decentralized options and for the private options, the trustless options, that it's really no contest. And so
how do you see that? How do you see that rolling along? I guess then, like, how do you see that starting? Where you start seeing people seriously putting their retirement savings and stuff like that into crypto financial assets? Because as you mentioned there, like 20 minutes ago, everything they've seen so far has either been literally a Ponzi scheme or somewhere between that and the like slow rug company gives up on it when momentum dies.
It's going to take time. I think that marketing is important. This is an interesting thing. It's one of my biggest critiques of certain multi-chain protocols that I shall not name, and biggest critiques of, I think the best example of it is Urbit, where they have the tech, right? They have the use case, they have the functionality, and they're like, no, we're not going to market this. We're just going to let it catch on slowly. And I've been friends with Urbit guys since 2019, and I'm like, when are you going to get your act together? Like when are people actually going to find out about what this is? And when are you going to be clear and actually conduct a marketing campaign? Because you have to educate people on why they need your thing, because they do need your thing. And so there's two things there. One, people have to be educated. Some might say that, like, well, if people need to be educated on your product, that's your problem. Things like inflation and government destroying the economy and destroying the currency make the case for the decentralized alternatives and the parallel economy in Web3. And that actually is education. People are going to become educated in why the dollar is unreliable. Your social security is bullshit. It's not going to work for guys my age. I'm in my 20s. At the end of the day, the meta trajectory of the world is making the case for decentralized options. And once we can come to meet the public where they are, which is at an expectation of functionality and safety, once you meet the public with the same function as what they're experiencing with large centralized entities or like the system, the alternative is, it's the Signal thing where it's like, oh, well, of course I want it to be decentralized and have control. And, if I'm going to invest my money in a thing, do I want it to be open source? And should I be able to look at the treasury wallet of the entity that I'm messing with? And it's like, I'm just going to give another example. If you offer someone a bank, right? A lot of what crypto's building is decentralized banks. That's like a lot of the use case. If you offer someone the exact same function from a bank, and it can help you get a mortgage on a house, and it can store your funds and allow you to transact, that versus what, the current Web 2 or, the TradFi bank, and you offer all things considered, if the function is the same, it's a very easy sell to say, well, I would prefer the private, open, decentralized alternative. And, at the end of the day, I love the saying that good technology is technology that you don't see. It's technology that's invisible because it's so good that you don't notice that you're using it. So if you had to do a bunch of like fucking UI, UX complexity to send encrypted messages on Signal, nobody would use it. The reason Signal works is because it works. It's just another messaging app for me. It's like my iMessage, and it's great. And so ideally, the goal is to have a Signal level experience for banking, exchanging, and decentralized finance where the person doesn't even realize, other than like on principle, that they're using a decentralized alternative. And so with that, the customer education part is you need people to understand that you can get a pretty damn safe and secure and solid multi-chain wallet on your browser. And if you're paranoid, you can use cold storage, but or a hardware wallet. These would be pretty logical jumps for people, but the case has to be made. And instead of you really the Urbit approach is stupid. You shouldn't just wait for everybody to find out. And now what's interesting with Urbit is Urbit now has competition. There are other things trying to do what Urbit is doing, and they have twiddled their thumbs long enough that they might be fucked.
Urbit is essentially unearned arrogance. Like, I like what they're doing too, but they didn't earn that arrogance to be as snobby as they are.
Yeah, and I love I'm using a lot of kind of idioms and metaphors here, but I love the idea that you think of the Renaissance inventor. He's Da Vinci. He's a guy in a lab. And if the inventor builds something really cool that works awesome, and he has the prototype, and it's in his little lab, and he hangs it on the wall of his lab, and never opens the window, and nobody ever goes through there, and nobody ever goes and shouts it on the street corner, nobody will ever use that, and it might as well not exist. That's the Urbit situation, is they're like, no, dude, it's uncool to go put a guy on the street corner yelling about our product that we just built, which is marketing. And they are experiencing the fruits of that approach, which is that nobody fucking knows what it is or what it does or how it should work or what the vision is. And there's been attempts, but in the broader sense, you need marketing, you need to get the word out there. And ideally, for us, like my approach and my attitude on what I'm building as like a decentralized exchange and general decentralized finance platform that will generate money for people is, sure, I'd love current crypto users to adopt, and there absolutely will be through my contacts in various ecosystems, like communities that join and they're already crypto native, they already have their funds in their wallets. But the most interesting customer is the one who makes their first wallet for your product. That's the way I see it. The customer, that's literally making the pie bigger. Taking someone not from the crypto community, but taking someone from 0 to 1, no wallets, to I made a wallet to use your protocol. That's onboarding people not into crypto, but directly into what I am building. And so that's going to take marketing. That's going to take kind of a more mass market approach. I have fantasies of, dude, I'm gonna put billboards on highways, like make your first wallet, come unplug from the system. That's I do think we're gonna watch the system erode in real time, and also the system has ruined all other alternatives. This is a whole other topic, but the financialization of gold has ruined gold as an asset. Gold is not a good store of value to unplug from the system, because you don't actually own gold. You own a digital representation on an exchange that says that you own gold, but it doesn't really. Gold also inflates. We're constantly digging it out of the ground. So there really aren't great alternatives other than maybe real estate.
Yeah.
So that's a long-winded thing, but essentially you need to market, you need to get both the current crypto community, but I just see it as a given. Like, crypto people, when they learn about what we're building, they're going to love it, and it's going to do great. I care more about making the pie bigger. I want people making their first wallets, and that's why I'm more interested, if I can, in marketing to like this account's Twitter community, because I'm like, a lot of the people that follow me are not crypto people. They don't have wallets, and I want to get them out of the system and into the better system, the future.
Okay, cool. I'll go. I saw Pat, you unmuted your mic, but yeah, I totally agree with that kind of sentiment of like ease of use. On our documentation, we say like with a few clicks, you can buy, sell, mint, trade a subscription. So yeah, I think we're goes back to the whole Ethereum standards and stuff. Maybe with the multi-chain stuff, it's slightly different, but I kind of know what's coming with Ethereum. It's going to be a lot of the new standards coming into place are focused on ease of use and even like social sign-ins. You don't have to remember your wallet numbers and letters and stuff. So a lot of it will get easier, and yeah, I think the infrastructure around it is kind of being built. So in terms of that, what, like, obviously you don't go into details if you don't want to, but what would you say would give you an edge, aside from usability compared to other protocols, or is there something significantly different in just paradigm shifting with your protocol compared to others?
So this is a problem that the true decentralized solution to swapping L1 assets is something you hear about. Various projects, whether Atomic Swaps or Thorchain, have approached it, and very few people have figured it out in a way that is safe, secure, and scalable. And so I and we are not the first team to figure it out or use that technology, but it is pretty unprecedented for the crypto world, where people are largely, you look at like the market cap of wrapped Bitcoin and the market cap of various wrapped assets being ported onto ETH. And then you look at the vulnerability of bridges and of all of the pieces that need to go into that. So direct L1 swaps is really the meat and potatoes, I want to say, of what's appealing about what we're building. But then in addition to that, I and we are going to build an ecosystem of profitable protocols. And I think that money and attention and smart people flock to quality. And so we are going to have a significant quality advantage in the ecosystem that we are building, because there is going to be some degree of gatekeeping by yours truly and my team. So not just offering seamless L1 swaps and that sort of whole listing, money raising, and investment side, but then also the ability to screen for quality and create a really high quality ecosystem. And so I think that creates a flywheel effect. You're then going to get more TVL on this ecosystem, and it is going to build into a city of gold. That's my vision for it, and how
you're kind of using quality as an umbrella term for like reliability and convenience also, right? Because to me that's like the key composure. Like if your stuff is not reliable, then it doesn't matter.
Yes, and so security, decentralization, those are key. Quality I'm really using as a proxy for profitability. We will only be working with projects with a profitable revenue model, and we will only be working with tokens that are designed to share revenue from a protocol, and revenue share tokens are predicated on a profitable model. So there's no free lunches. There's no pure governance tokens. And sure, other people could spin up bad projects in the space. But as we move towards being more than just a multi-chain DEX and really a development hub for this ecosystem, we just think that we can create that flywheel effect where large amounts of capital and very capable teams are coming over. And as just one glance into what that might look like, we are probably going to be doing a large revitalization. I like the term resurrection. A resurrection movement for teams and code bases from Terra. I don't care what anyone says. Terra was a high quality ecosystem. I met a lot of really good teams. There was a lot of great stuff going on, and it's been tragic what's happened. And you have to think, where did the good teams from Terra building on that chain go? Did they go build elsewhere? Are their code bases still there? As one thing, we can resurrect Terra code bases that are open source in our new ecosystem. Literally, we could pull the ships out of the junkyard and find new teams for them and launch them. So that's just one example of how we're going to build a quality ecosystem, and take the best from the embers and the ashes of Terra and revamp it to us. And inevitably we'll have our own native kind of development environment and community.
People are craving. I loved your answer. It reminds me of the redemption arc people are expecting and deserve, in my opinion. Redemption is great. We love underdogs or comeback dogs. Yeah,
it is very interesting, and The other part about it, it's my pitch in terms of what my competitive edge is, building an ecosystem and creating new projects, but also porting over existing projects, is the fact that we are going to be aggressively gatekeeping. And I really think that that's the kind of everybody can be under the tent attitude can be a problem for a lot of ecosystems. And ultimately, I think the great appeal that we have to teams and financiers and talent is that our narrative, the multi-chain narrative, straddles all of the other narratives. It's literally, it insulates you from the risk that the ecosystem or the chain or the meta narrative that you might be building on right now, if that disappears in 3 months, you could feel very silly and like you wasted a lot of your time, building a protocol on a dying chain. So I think that and this is just, I'm so biased, right? But I think that the multi-chain narrative is the meta narrative, right? It's the ultimate one. And building in a multi-chain ecosystem is where you want to be to hedge against the possibility that you have a tail spiral of your centralized, not your centralized, but your algorithmic stablecoin like Terra. So ultimately, that appeal is huge. I think I'm obviously very passionate about it, and it's kind of inevitable. It's already happening. So it'll be really interesting. I'm already in talks with, what's the N=1 for this? Who are the first protocols that we're going to be helping build this technology, assemble teams, design. I'm still figuring out the branding and the what I want to call what I think my discovery is on perfect tokenomics. But essentially, I want to take my lessons in tokenomics from the last 2 years and make like ideal tokenomics templates that are mostly revenue share based, and allow protocols to play with them, but basically ensure that the people building on this new ecosystem are going to have the best tools available to them and the best templates for their model.
Yeah, no. So, my question I was going to ask, I think you answered it with, how you're going to build up this ecosystem, and I believe you answered it. But I do have a question from the audience that someone DM'd me. Let me just bring it up. Was to ask the audience, the panel, or anyone in the audience that wants to answer this, but if anyone games and uses NFTs and how they feel the process could be improved. So that was a question that was asked.
Yeah. So let me just throw a thought out there that occurred to me earlier on NFTs and gaming. One of my portfolio companies is a company I'm not naming company names on this. Also, I've said this before, but for new listeners, DM me and I can tell you what the name of my thing I'm building is. It exists already. But one of the questions, I have a portfolio company that we invested in that is it's essentially an advanced software development kit that will allow traditional gaming studios to blockchainify their games. And the question has always been, with gaming, who's going to figure it out first? Are the gaming people, are these big game studios, going to build Web3? Or is Web3 going to build better games than the gaming studios? And I think the very common sense, resounding answer to that is that the professional game builders are the best game builders in the world. It's why they do what they do. The people that make Halo and Call of Duty are the pros. That side of things, the Web 2, the traditional gaming space is going to be the people who are going to figure out Web3 gaming. What they need is the tools to adapt their games to be Web3 or to build new games that are Web3. But at the end of the day, I don't think you can compete with a Blizzard or any of these big gaming studios in building a better game than them. So I'm always very bearish on crypto native games being built by Web3 people because they aren't professional game designers, and they simply don't have the industrial game production capacity. So like this portfolio company I'm talking about, they're building a software development kit to blockchainify non-blockchain games. Dude, if you allow them to make Halo 2, but you can, bet on like player versus player games, and it's just Halo 2, but it's been blockchainified. Everybody throws in $5 at the beginning of the game, and then they fight it out, and the winner gets all that money. That all of those native Web3 games being built by teams are going to zero. Sorry, they can't compete with Halo 2. Halo 2 is a seminal masterpiece of game design. And so I really think that so the question was, does anybody like game and use NFTs? I do not. I play Web 2 games, man. I play Call of Duty DMZ recently, and I see a future in which the proper tools are given to studios to blockchainify the things that everybody currently plays. And then think of it again, what I said earlier about good technology is invisible technology that works in the background. People playing, Call of Duty DMZ and buying things with crypto without really realizing it from a UI perspective that they have to like link their wallet, other than maybe their initial link of the wallet. That is the future. And I'm really interested in the picks and shovels, the tools that will allow those Web2 studios to do it because, again, I'll reiterate, I do not believe that Web3 people can make a better game than a professional gaming studio.
Yeah, I've actually seen this firsthand. I've seen a group of people that made a ton of money launching a token, and then 6 months later they kind of want to build a game and hire game studio people, and it's an absolute shit show. It was so painful working there at a Metaverse company, and I mean, don't get me wrong, they hired like really good top talent, but it was really janky, and like best management comes top down, so it just wasn't there. So I totally agree with that kind of sentiment. I think as well, I mean, I'm very much an infrastructure kind of guy. I feel as though like in order to get trucks running, you have to build the roads. So that's my kind of like larger metaphor. So yeah, I generally agree.
Well, the average time for like a mobile game, for example, is 3.5 to 4 years of development and at least low 8 figures. So if you didn't punt that into your game is not going to succeed. Like that's like the baseline.
Red Dead Redemption 3 will, mark my words on this, I'll make a cash bet with anyone. Red Dead Redemption 3 will be Web3. It will be Web3 enabled. You'll be able to spend Bitcoin. You'll be able to earn cryptocurrencies. Think about, for anybody that knows, Red Dead Redemption 1 was in like 20... It was 9 years. 9 years between Red Dead Redemption 1 and Red Dead Redemption 2. And they built a masterpiece of a game for the second one, and it took 9 years. And if you think a professional gaming studio that has to take 9 years to make a game that good, if you think that a small like crackpot Web3 team is going to make a better game, but also with Bitcoin, there's a flight to quality, and the quality is clearly on the side of the professional gaming studio. Yeah.
Like people want to move fast, but when you move fast, quality always takes a hit.
Yeah, and I mean, we work in a space where I was talking with a buddy who's he has started a based marketing agency. He's one of our Twitter guys here. DM me if you want to get in touch with him. He's looking for clients, but he's a based marketing firm, and he's a seasoned professional in that whole marketing and advertising world. And he just wanted to build a based company because it's hard to operate if you have views like some of ours in a space like that is very female dominated. But in the biggest picture, like you need to be able to figure out exactly who your community is and align with them. And as all of these services roll out, it's going to be a matter of choosing who to take with you. It's my broader thought on it.
Cool. We've just passed the hour. It's gone really quick. Guys, do you guys want to give any closing remarks and just a quick summary of what we've gone through here?
Sorry to fill all the airwaves. Again, you can DM me. We're looking for team members. We're looking for seed investors. Very few of them. We're raising very little money, and we're bootstrapping. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys hearing me out on some of my rambles. And I think that both Sukuri and insert protocol name that I'm currently building are going to be quite impactful in the Web3 sphere. And again, the lifeboat's out there, and not everybody is going to get on, but you have the option to get on. That would be my closing statement.
Yeah, no worries. That sounds really good. I appreciate you, coming on and you've been a really good guest. Really, I always learn something when I talk to you anyway. So, yeah, I appreciate you coming on. There will be a recording of this uploaded. Obviously, I'll give it to you to check through as well, if you want it to be edited or anything. But yeah, appreciate you coming on. Appreciate Kimchi coming in as a speaker as well. And Pixel Ladies or Pros Producer, I'm not sure exactly what your name is these days, but I appreciate you being a co-host as well. And yeah, that's it, guys. We'll probably be back next week. I'm trying to do this as a weekly thing just with some friends of mine in the Web3 space. And shout out to Wabi as well. He kind of gave me the push to make these spaces. So yeah, shout out everyone else as well. Who kind of joined. Appreciate you all hopping on. Thank you, guys. Peace. Bye.
Enjoyed it. See you guys.
Thanks a lot.